All right, how's everybody doing? This is the Comic Samurai. I want to welcome you to my next video, and tonight we're going to be doing another Let's Rank challenge. This is where we look at a run on a series and assign every cover a letter grade from A to F, and then pick our favorite and award it that special S tier ranking. And tonight we're going to be looking at John Byrne's run on Superman Volume 2 that came out in 1986, right on the cusp of 1987. So let's go ahead and jump right in. First up, we got this Superman #1, and I think that this is a totally underrated comic book. You can get this one dirt cheap. I've seen it in dollar bins, and it's a Superman #1, done by the superstar artist and writer John Byrne. He did most of the chores on this comic book, and he came out guns blazing. I liked this cover here. That villain that he went up against was a good challenge. I never like to see Superman fallen. It would have been great on a Superman #1 to have just a splash page of him. It is a great cover though, underrated, and I'm giving it a very strong B. Let's call it a B+. Next up we got issue #2, and this one was a beautiful John Byrne image there where Lex Luthor has used a computer and done a simulation, and it says that the identity of Superman is Clark Kent. Now, I think in the comic he doesn't really believe it or buy into it, and he's like, this machine is trash. But it is a comical cover there, just to think that that was the graphics that computers were capable of 1987 there. I just love this cover. It's imaginative. I'm giving this one a B. Next up, we got issue #3 here, and we've got John Byrne's take on Darkseid there, that classic Kirby creation, holding Superman in his grasp by his cape there. I like the coloring on this one. The brown in the background is usually a demerit for me, but I think it works in this case. It's a beautiful image. I always like hand covers and giant covers, and on this one, I don't like to see Superman falling. Yeah, I'm not going to give this one quite an A, but it does deserve another B, B+. All right, we've got, the B's are heavy. Next up, we got issue #4, and this is the first appearance of that villain named Bloodsport. Now, he made an appearance in that Suicide Squad movie, and I liked his character. They changed him a bit here, but they did keep that mythos that he used a kryptonite bullet to shoot Superman, and I love that take on it. The red mask was a little hokey, but it was a sign of the times there. This is another very strong cover here. I love the playfulness. I'm a sucker for a good white background there, and whenever an image interacts with the trade dress in a good way, I love that. The symbol of holding Superman's cape there. It's another great cover, and I'm giving this one a B. This was a great series back in the late 80s. It kind of redid the mythos of Superman a lot. It redid some of his history, his relationship, his past, how Superboy interacted with the world. But this issue of #5 here is another beautiful one done by John Byrne, and it features the Mummy there, and it kind of leaves the identity a mystery there, but I like the idea of a villain wrapped in rags and bursting through a wall there. And Superman's got to protect a maiden in distress there. There's good type there. This is a beautiful trade dress there. John Byrne did it again, and I'm giving this one another very strong B. Next up, we got issue #6. Now, this was kind of an interesting one here. I didn't really recognize this villain here. And with all of the heads there that were kind of a light pastel color, I did like that impact mark of the punch of Superman there. You've got Lois Lane in the background there barking some orders out. This green, whenever it fades to like a mint green, I never liked that. Yeah, this one's just an average cover for me, and it's getting a C. Next up, we got issue #7 here, and this was a couple years after the movies had come out, and Superman had a lot of popularity, and people were really getting into it. So DC was smart to reboot the Superman title with a fresh start, and John Byrne was a great pick to helm that. Now, this one is a female leg here, stomping him into the ground there, and it is kind of funny to see him just buried in all those chunks. I heard Ed Piskor mention one time that whenever there's something breaking, glass or rocks or whatever, they should always draw the bits overlapping each other. So I always look for that on a cover, and it takes demerits if none of the chunks overlap each other. They should be casting shadows on each other and just giving it depth. It's an easy thing to do, and if you don't do it, I agree with Ed that it's just lazy. But this is a beautiful issue here. The chunks do overlap, and I'm giving this one my first A. All right, I did love John Byrne's take on Superman. He was able to draw that character just like I thought Superman should be drawn. I loved his take on the costume, his face, his hair. It was perfect. I did not like later when they brought in the Superman with a mullet. Oh, that's when I started to tune out. But this Superman issue here, number 8, is an homage to Fantastic Four number 249. And guess who drew that cover? That's right, John Byrne. But he did a good take on it here, where Superman's interacting. I think those are some of the members of the Legion of Superheroes. I could never get into that group. I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of fans out there, and they are hardcore, but I just wasn't one of them. I do like the simplistic background here. I love a great homage cover. This is a strong cover, and it's getting a very strong B. Let's call that another B+. Next up, we got issue number 9 here, and this one features a Jokerized version of Superman. And I love a cover that begs you to open it. And this was one where you've got to find out why Superman has Joker's face on the cover there. I do like the take on it. It's comical. It's kind of horrific. This is kind of a frightening cover. But that pink background with that green trade dress, that clashed for me, and that's dragging it down to a C. Yeah, it's the best I can do on that one. Next up, we got issue number 10 here. Now this one, I really thought they needed a boost of energy, an injection, keep the momentum going at this point. And you just see Superman kind of walking away. I love the subtle body language on that, but it just isn't the mood that I was going for at this time in the run. I wanted something dramatic, powerful, exciting. I wanted a big heroic moment. And Superman being dejected by his followers, Perry White and some others there, it wasn't what I was looking for. It is a beautiful John Byrne take on it. Like I said, the subtle body language, this one deserves a C. All right, next up we got issue number 11. Now this one did have some humor, and I always say it, but I said it Mr. Mitzelplix. I know that's not the accepted term or how you say it, pronunciation, so I want to see how everybody else says it, but I always called that imp from the 5th dimension Mr. Mitzelplix. I like the yellow border here. I like how Lois Lane's feet are kind of extending out. It does give it a 3D element here. This was an intriguing cover to me. I like the depth on it. I like Superman. I like Lois Lane. If Superman's not going to be front and center on a cover, do it like this. This is a great example, and I've given this one an A. It's not exactly a strong A. We'll call that one an A-. Next up, we got issue number 12. And this one, I never liked the romance stuff. When the Superman had the action and the superhero stuff and his relationship with friends and things, it was fine. But to tell an old love story, this character is named Lori Lamaris, and I hadn't really heard of her. She didn't make too many more appearances. And just this pink, kind of like take on Valentine's Day cover, it never spoke to me here. I'm sorry, this one didn't rate very good for me, and I'm giving it a D. Next up, we got issue number 13 here. Now, this is how you do a comic book cover, in my opinion. I love this, where Superman looks like a giant, or are these figures coming in from the edges, miniatures. But I love when things come in from the edges to a focal point, and the focal point on this one is Superman's shield, the S on his chest. And I love that. I'm a sucker for white backgrounds, like I said. I like the trade dress, but the orange and the purple, why didn't they use a bright yellow there, red and blue, something other than that? Again, this is one I can only give a B to, but it is a strong B. I like Byrne's take on Superman. Here we go now with issue number 14. This is the epitome of a great superhero cover. I love it when they have a team up too. So this is Hal Jordan's take on the Green Lantern. I wonder why he didn't have the gray stripes on the side there, because that was always kind of a trademark of Hal Jordan's Green Lantern. But I like the power ring right up front. You get to see how John Byrne draws it. Those two swooping in, the backgrounds there. I think they were done with like some computer-generated imagery there, and it's early stuff if Byrne did that. He liked to toy with some of that, textures and things, done on a computer or a Xerox machine, but this is beautiful. Love the coloring, love the placement of those two, love the perspective. This one is getting a very strong A. That is John Byrne firing on all cylinders. Next up, we got issue number 15 here. Now, this was kind of an interesting take. It features a strong cop figure. I think Maggie Sawyer was her name. I loved that character. She was so well written. And this is the first issue where you get to learn a little bit of her background, and I loved it. I liked the perspective, the cityscape in the background, that tension. Will Superman get there in time? The one demerit is that all of the buildings there are just colored gray. I wish they'd have done a little bit more dramatic, some reflections off the skylight. I think the colorist on this one, whoever it was, could have taken some notes from Barry Windsor Smith. He always does a great job, especially with reflective windows in the background. But this one's a pretty good one, and I'm giving it a B. Next up, we got issue number 16, and they tried to tie in some humor here. And John Byrne's humor sometimes falls flat with me, but on this one, it's just a simple image of Superman's back with a kick me sign on it, and it is humorous. It's a one-off. I don't know that I would have bought this one off the shelves, just on the strength of this cover here. It's okay, but again, it's just a mediocre cover in my opinion. It looks like it was a bit rushed, doesn't it? Just that big image of the cape. I like how it was done, and I like the textures in it, but this one can't score anything higher than a C for me. Next up, we got issue number 17, and I do like this one. This introduced that character, that villain of the Banshee. This was DC's take on that character, and in that universe, the Banshee is a villain. It's a female, and she really has kind of a magical-based powers, and that's one of Superman's main weaknesses. And I love that whenever they bring a magic or Kryptonian-based villain into it, Superman actually has a chance to lose, because he can't lose against any physically strong-based villain. I mean, let's face it, he's gone up against the strongest, and he always comes out ahead. Except for Doomsday, don't get me started on that. But the image of Banshee stepping over a skeletal Superman on this one was compelling. I love the trope of using the arching legs, and you get to see an image between them. Something about that John Byrne really likes, as you'll see here in a couple more issues. But this is a beautiful one done here. I applaud it, and it's getting a very strong A. All right, next up we got issue number 18. Now this one, John Byrne took a break, and this is a Mike Mignola cover. And it's great, it's fine, but it wasn't John Byrne, so we're just going to move it on. Next up we got issue number 19, and again, this is not a John Byrne image, and if I were to rank it, I would not give this one a very good grade at all. But it's not John Byrne, so we don't have to worry about it. Next up we got issue number 20. Now I love split covers. I'm a big fan of halvesies, and this is a tri-split cover. It's in 3 pieces. We've got kind of some of the Doom Patrol on the cover here, and I like how it's split, and the eyes match up. I love that. The backgrounds are split too. This is a funny cover. It's kind of horrific. It really does catch my eye. This one's getting another very strong B. I'll call it another B+. I've never had so many on the edge before. This is fun. Next up we got issue number 21, and this is when John Byrne reintroduced Superwoman. I loved that. She was always a great counterpoint to Superman. And this one, this is how you introduce a character. You hint at it on the cover there so that the buyer has got to open it up. You got to take it home and read it to see the revelation. Does Supergirl have blonde hair again, or is she a brunette like Superman is? Are they related like they were in the past? This is awesome. I love this. And look at Superman's reaction. That's what I love about those arching leg tropes. You get to see the stance of them. You can read the body language. But the magic in these covers is in seeing the reaction to seeing their identity in the background there of the characters you want to focus on. There's some type there. This one, again, works very well for me. And I can very confidently give this one another A. All right, the last one is issue number 22 here that John Byrne did, and it's a beautiful green cover. I don't like the image of Superman in an executioner's mask. Something about that is antithetical to what Superman is all about. He's lifting a box, exposing kryptonite to somebody here. The red text there does kind of complement the green, and I like how they use the highlights in the yellow there. You can tell that this is a John Byrne image, and it's okay. And that's the only thing that saves it from a lower grade, but I'm giving this one a C. All right, we've got the ranking done. Let's go ahead and take a look at the ones in the A tier and pick our favorite. All right, we've got 5 comic books that I gave an A rating to. We've got that one that introduced Supergirl, the Banshee, Green Lantern, Mr. Mxyzptlk, and the Stomping Leg here. Which one of these is my favorite? Oh, I love John Byrne's take on Superman. This is a tough call. But if I had to make my... Okay, it's between this, definitely, the Arching Legs one and this Green Lantern one. Let's take a look at these two. Which one would you guys choose? Go ahead and stop the video now and let me know what your favorite cover is. But mine has got to be this Arching Legs cover. I love how he did this. Nobody does that trope better than John Byrne, and he is one of my favorites. I love his work. This is the definitive version of Superman for me. I thank you for joining me tonight. This was a lot of fun. Let me know what other runs, titles, artists, writers you want me to rank. Thanks again, and have a great night.